This video, I want to talk about the Chinese customs and cultures. It's a video request from one of my fans out there, and it's a good topic, so I just want to talk about it real quick. Um, I'm just gonna go about what what I know, what I've been brought up and raised. I don't know that much. I've lost a lot of my history, a lot of my culture, and a lot of my roots from being born in America and being like very much Americanized and just not really being having many Chinese friends, not really being too close to my cousins or uncles. It's just like learning it from my parents and learning from what I might see in movies, learning from what I might read in books and videos that I might watch on YouTube and things like that. But one thing that the person mentioned on the phone was, it's in Chinese culture, you're not supposed to have shoes in the house. I was raised that way, and you're supposed to take off your shoes. We usually don't have, we walk around barefoot, or we might wear slippers, but we're not going to wear outdoor shoes inside, so that's very important. But here in the West, I think it's common for people to trample all over their whole home with shoes on, but that's not something that we would do in our culture. Um, I bumped into somebody that was a practitioner in the martial arts, and he mentioned something that you know, it kind of grasped my attention. The way that he said it was like, you don't bring that negative energy from the outdoors to the inside. It's like the martial arts school, your home is supposed to be like a temple. It's a place, that you're supposed to relax, a place that you're supposed to be safe. And when you're, stepping on your shoes out there, your shoes are getting mud and dirt and feces and pee and all sorts of negative energy that's coming from the outside, and you don't want to have that negative energy inside your home and all over your bedroom and living room and all that. So it's something that's, I feel, is a lot healthier, for that practice. Something else that I noticed too is in the Chinese culture, it's different. When you make a lot of eye contact, to somebody who is your father, your teacher, or an authority over you, or their emperor, or whoever the case may be, it's seen as a sign of disrespect. But in America, it's like the opposite. They think that if you don't look at them in the eyes, they think that you're lying or you're being deceitful or you have something to hide. But in the East, it's different. It's like when you are looking at somebody in the eyes, it's like more disrespectful and almost like a challenge to the person. And in a way, it's kind of like that here in America as well. I mean, if you're walking down the street and you're walking by a gang member and you're just staring him down and you're just eyeing him, it's like a challenge, and it's like an ego, and it's like something where a lot of people play those eye games where people feel disrespected when you keep looking at them a certain way, staring them down. And in the East, or in the Chinese culture, it's something where you don't really look at them in the eyes. You might look down, because that shows more like humbleness and surrendering and submission. And if you look at, even some, because I'm gonna do a lot of parallels between the Chinese culture and also, some of, people that practice Islam or Muslims, and some of these people from India, that are Hindu, and I think there's a lot of similarities between India, China, even Japan, and the Middle East, as far as their customs and cultures are very different than here in the West. Other things in the Chinese culture, the way I was raised is, I would get beat, if I do something wrong, I get beat, and it's a common thing in the Chinese culture. Like, you're not disrespectful. If you are, you'll get beat. if you do something wrong, you get beat. So like physical punishment is very common in the Chinese culture, but here in the West it's like complete opposite. It's like they let the child run the household, but in the Chinese culture, the father runs the household. The child does not run the household. The child is put in check, and mistakes that are made, he's gonna pay for it physically. And that physical discipline, I think, is a very important discipline to shape you into a more humble person as you grow older. I think that there's a lack of that here in America, and there's just a lot of people that disrespect the authority. There's a lot of fathers that just aren't around, and then there's nobody giving authority to the children. And then the parents are, they're restricted and discouraged and banned from like physically disciplining their children. So then they can't discipline them. The teachers in school can't discipline them physically. And then it's like these people don't even have respect for any authority. They don't have respect for the law. They don't have respect for the parents. They don't have respect for teachers. They don't have respect for anybody. But in the Chinese culture, there's a lot of respect, and you don't disrespect your elders. And when you do something wrong, you're gonna be physically punished, and you will. So it's gonna make you think twice before you do something stupid. So that's another thing that I know is a clear difference between the Chinese culture and the way that it is here in the West. Other things that's pretty obvious is the Chinese New Year is in February, and the American New Year is January 1st. So the New Year's celebration is very different. Other things that are different too is the Chinese see dragons to be something of positive. It represents like power and strength and mystery, and just like good luck and fortune, and it's a strong symbol in the Chinese culture. But in the West, dragons are seen as a negative thing. It's something that representing like evil spirits and things like that, and more like demonic and things like that. So that's something that I noticed as well. And the Chinese culture, and I also see it within the Muslim community as well, and also the Hindu community and the culture. There's a strong authority within the man in the household. Like the woman is meant to be more surrendered. She's not meant to be somebody who's so like outspoken and aggressive and arrogant and conceited, and just basically she never should be the one who's trying to play the man's role. She should always respect the man and basically not talk back to the man, not be disrespectful to the man. Somebody who surrenders to the man of the household, to her husband or whatever the case may be. She's gonna be a lot more submissive. She's not gonna be the type of woman that's gonna be trying to outdo the man, no matter what it is, financially or just intellectually or physically, or just try to, become like the replacement of the man. That's not something that's supposed to happen in the Chinese culture. The Chinese culture is where the woman is very submissive. She does the cooking, she does the cleaning, she takes care of the children, and she might not work, she may work, but either way, she's still very respectful towards her husband, and she doesn't talk back. If he's angry, she doesn't talk back. Or if he's angry and he's letting out his stress, she doesn't talk back. She's pretty much somebody that's just very, very submissive, and in the West, America is like almost the opposite. These women are very aggressive women, and they want to overtake the man's role, and they want to work, they want to drive, they want to be promoted, they want all the power, they want to become the leaders, and they want to be the managers, they want to be the CEOs, they want to be presidents, they want to do everything that the man's doing. They want this thing called like equal employment or just equal opportunity, all this other stuff. They want to be equal to the man, and they don't want to take that submissive role. They don't even want to have children, and if they do have children, they just want to throw them off to daycare and then go back to work. I mean, it's just like it's like a power struggle between the man and the woman in America, but in the Chinese culture, it's supposed to be just by nature they are taking the submissive role, and they are to surrender to the man, and they're supposed to basically treat the man like he's a king. You know, they're not supposed to disrespect the man in any way. Other things about the Chinese culture that I noticed too is it's supposed to be, the marriage is supposed to be just pretty much, there's not supposed to be such a thing as divorce. If you do get married, then you're just married. And you know, whatever struggles that you go through, then you just deal with it. You know, you don't, there's no such thing as divorce. You know, it just doesn't happen. You know, if the woman's unhappy, well, she's just gonna have to learn to put up with it. You know, and do what she has to do. You know, that's another thing that I noticed with the Chinese culture that's very different. Here in the West, it's like, you know, they're unhappy, they get divorced. You know, after a month they get divorced. After a year they get divorced. After 3 years they get divorced. It's like, you know, it's just this whole thing of, oh, you know, I'm not happy, so I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna move on. But that's not like that in Chinese culture. Chinese culture is more like, you know, you just put up with it. Even in the Chinese culture, and even in the Indian culture, even in the Muslim community, there's like such a thing as arranged marriages. You know, where, you know, the partner's just picked for you, and you don't really have much. You know, it's more, you get married more out of family arrangement, opposed to this thing that we call love, which isn't even love in America. It's just lust. And America is lost. You know, they don't really get married out of family and the close-knit bond, and they don't get married out of love either. It's just all lust. You know, so the American values, there's almost no values. But the Chinese culture, at least there's some foundation where it's like two families are coming together, and they're getting married to bring together the families. It's not just all about the man and the woman, and that's all that matters. It's about the entire families that basically that they're fit for each other. So then they should come together and become one. So it's not just about the man and the woman being happy. It's about the parents being happy. It's about the grandparents being happy. It's about the cousins being happy. It's about everybody being happy to come together as one. And that's something that's very different. You don't see that in America. In America, it's just all like, it's all about just you and that person that you want to be with, and it's not about anybody else. You know, it's just all, you know, America's all about ego. It's all about you. The Chinese culture is more about, it's as a whole, as a family as a whole. You know, the Chinese culture also, does a lot of teaching on humbleness. You know, and it's like you're raised to believe that you're never good enough, pretty much. Like you're never, like no matter what you do, it's just not good enough. You know, and then basically it just teaches you to be humble. Like you might do something great, but it's not great according to you, because to you it's not a big deal. Your parents don't make a big deal of it. Nobody makes a big deal out of it. It's just something, you're supposed to do that anyway. You're not supposed to, you know, people, they don't make a big deal out of your accomplishments, basically. It's just, you know, everything that you do, you're just supposed to do it anyway. You know, you're not supposed to get compliments about it. You're not supposed to get recognition. You're not supposed to, you know, get money. You're not supposed to get rewards. It's just, you just do what you have to do. It's not about any of that stuff, you know. And it teaches a lot of humbleness, you know, like. But in America, it's different. You know, like every little thing you do, they give you something. Or you did something good. Oh, here's some candy. Or here's some cookies. Or here's some money. Or, you know, it's like you always feel like you need rewards for doing something. And that kind of goes along with how the martial arts is trying to be propagated here in the West. It's like, oh, you do something, oh, here's a belt. Oh, you did something else, here's another belt. It's just like, but in the Chinese culture, it's like, you know, you're supposed to be doing that stuff anyway. You're not going to get anything. You know, it's just more like, you know, what you're doing, what you do is not a big deal. you're not special. They teach you to not feel special, that pretty much you are not better than the next person. You know, you are just supposed to just do what you're meant to do. It's a different upbringing. Like you might get straight A's, and then your parents don't make a big deal out of it. They don't care. It's supposed to be that type of like upbringing. You know, Western is like, oh, you do one little thing, then make a big deal out of everything. Um, Chinese culture is very different. It's very unique, and as I've grown and experienced more and met more people, I just really realize how different I am compared to the average American, because the way that I was raised is very different. In the Chinese culture, for example, is there's like no such thing as 911. You don't call 911. You just handle the issues within the family. But America's all about, calling 911 over every little thing. Somebody yells and screams, oh, you call 911. Or you see something, oh, you call 911. Everything you call 911. In the Chinese culture, you don't call nobody. You just deal with it. It's a very different upbringing, and that's why I realized that, because I was raised a certain way, I'm just so different than everybody else around here, because it's a different outlook on things, and another thing with the Chinese culture is that the women they're not supposed to be dressing provocative. They're not supposed to be like, having their breasts hanging out and short skirts and showing up, their butts and everything. Like, they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to be covered up, and dress conservative. And but in the West, it's just like very pornographic, very, very lustful. The women always showing their body parts and all this other stuff. But in the Chinese culture, it's not supposed to be like that. It's just supposed to be very, very conservative, very humble, and just not like that. And the women are not supposed to be so highly sexual like the way they are in here in America. In the Chinese culture, the women aren't really so like sexually, they're not sexual like men. The Chinese culture, the women are just a lot more conservative with their sex drive. They're not out there like that. They're not prostitutes. They're not hoes or whatever the case may be. They're not out there like that. But in the Western, it's all about pornography, and the women are just very, very, very like promiscuous and things like that. Chinese culture, the women aren't supposed to be like that. So those are just some things on top of my mind, top of my head, that I see the contrast, the differences between Chinese culture based on my experiences and the American way. And it is different, and people have a hard time understanding. They think, America always thinks that they know everything, that they think their way is always the best way, and they go over to the other countries and they try to spread their religion onto everybody and say, hey, let's convert everybody to become Christians, and have all these Christian missionaries and fight for equal rights and for men and women and all this other crap. And it's just like, they're not letting other countries run their own country and let their culture flourish according to their own ways. They want to just go in there, bombard it, and just be like, let's have everybody change into what we want them to be. And America's just like very arrogant when it comes to that. They just think they know everything, But what I see is that they don't know everything. They if anything, there's a lot that they have to learn. There's a lot of learning that America has to do, and there's a lot that they have to learn from the East. There's a lot of strong attacks onto Muslims at this time, and I think there's a lot that Muslims could teach to America. I've met and I trained some Muslims, and I really like the peacefulness and the energy that they bring to me, and they represent their religion a lot better than what I see a lot of Christians and Catholics, and but yet the media is just so much like focused on destroying their reputation, and I think that's a very sad thing, because them attacking the Muslims in the Middle East it's like attacking the East, it's attacking the Middle East, they attack China, they attack India, you're attacking the East, just like they used to attack Japan, with the Pearl Harbor and everything. But then, after the atom bombs, they felt like they evened the score, or not just evened the score, but they just destroyed them so much that, they felt bad. They're like, you know what, Japan's cool with us now because we just bombed like thousands, over 100,000 of their people, and in exchange for about 3,000 of ours. So not only are we cool, but we'll get Japan into our side now, and we'll be cool with Japan, and the Japan just kind of like more like, oh, now we're gonna surrender and submit to America, and we're gonna be just like you, America, and we're gonna be the next bully, after you, So that's the way that I see it. I mean, like, it's just America's very, very arrogant, very aggressive with their ways, and they think they know everything, and it's very annoying. It really is. I mean, I say that as an American. There's a part of America that I really dislike, that arrogance, and there's just so much that they could learn from the East, not just from the Chinese, but from the Middle East, from the Muslims, from the Indians, from India, with with yoga, and with the Hindu religion, and from Buddha, from some certain parts of Japan, and there's just so much that could be learned, but they're just so arrogant that they think they know everything, and they're just like, well, we're not going to learn what you guys have to teach. We're going to really convert you into what we do, and I give credit to America for being like very economically powerful, having this type of capitalistic mentality into profiting and building wealth, and building up communities and distributing wealth. And China's learned a lot from America, as far as running a government, running an economy, and progressing, scientifically, and progressing as far as like material wealth is concerned. There's a lot that America knows that they could teach people all over the world, from Africa to China to Japan, to build up their countries to be wealthy. But when it comes to the spiritual, America is an extreme lack. Like, they just have no spiritual. It's just gone. Everything in America is just all about materialism. It's all about wealth. It's just all about the physical. It's all about science. They have nothing when it comes to spirituality and meditation and culture. America has no culture, and this just, they have no heart. It's just gone. It's non-existent. Everybody's just robotic. They don't know anything about art. They know about sports. They know about destroying people, like, competitively. They know about destroying people in business, destroying people in sports, just destruction. They know how to destroy things, but they don't know nothing about creativity. They don't know nothing about spirituality, and that comes from the East. That comes from India. That comes from China. That comes from the Middle East. That comes, like, they don't know about, like, surrendering and, like, truly having a true relationship with God, or just growing from the inside out. They don't know nothing about that, you know. And I see a lot of flaws in America, you know. And you know, living my life, I try to bring together the beauties of the East into this Western lifestyle, and to try to merge the two, you know, the two energies together to express a balance, you know. So there's very few people, you know, out there in mass media that are even allowed to promote the teachings of the East. And it's very hard to find, and you really have to really seek for it on your own, out of your own energies. But when you read the books, when you watch the videos, then you can learn to benefit from the wisdom of the East, and to better your life. Because as of right now, when you don't have the teachings of the East, it's a very strong lack, and it creates a huge imbalance. And it's going to be very difficult to find happiness inside, because there's something of great lack. And you know, that's what I see.